Most people that join your list, whether they come in through the checkout or through a sign-up form, they convert within the first 24 to 48 hours.
We have some clients that their ad spend actually allow them to target much more customers because the acquisition cost basically halved.
You're making too many assumptions that the customer cares.
Trying to optimize the welcome flow is suboptimal. Trying to optimize the pop-up has bigger effect on the results.
We're accelerating towards a future where Klaviyo is consolidating more and more of these features that you often find in different third-party apps. The best brands don't have just one list growth strategy.
So for today, we have a new episode ready. And Bogdan, are you ready for this one?
I'm ready. Honestly, I'm feeling refreshed after Valencia. That was, in a way, that was tiring and refreshing at the same time. It was, came back inspired, if I can say that. I'm excited for us to have another one of these sort of like digital episodes. What are we talking about today? Do you know?
So today, basically, what we're covering is everything with list growth. So how the best D2C brands can actually leverage their lists today. So everything, list growth, everything, how to get more people onto your list and why it's important as well. Before we dive in, maybe a couple of things that we can cover. Anything new? What's been happening with you? You'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I feel like I've been kind of back to back on traveling and events lately. I was in Malaga for an e-commerce event, then I was in Valencia with you. In terms of like things from our side, we're kind of just focusing a lot on our existing clients, improving most of our existing clients' flow setups. We have quite a few projects live at the moment. We have 4 active projects. And it's really cool because a lot of the clients that we have, we've been working with them for 24, 36 months. And the flows and the strategies that we implemented 2 years ago are so not the strategies that we would implement today, because knowledge evolves and you immediately think, oh, we could have done this much better. So that's kind of what we've been up to. What about you?
Well, interesting. It actually covers back what we talked about 2 episodes ago, which actually just launched today. So it's interesting to be recording things and then taking back into time. But anyway, once this comes out, episode 3 already has been live for a couple of weeks. We actually covered like best practices we used to believe in that we kind of like found out. Actually, You're basically saying the same thing. And to that end, same thing. Last week was interesting. The traveling, it always kind of like work piles up. It was nice to be able to present at that event in Valencia, which was really nice. Talking about Klaviyo, also the Klaviyo CRM on the new positioning, why it's important, what you can get out of it. And for us, I think making a pivot towards doing CRO, doing Klaviyo email marketing, broader communicating, working that customer journey. I've been working a lot with that pivot. So how we're going to be pivoting towards full customer journey optimization or orchestration. I think that's even a better word. So we're going to be orchestrating journeys and then using either CRO, website improvements, email marketing, SMS, WhatsApp, DMs like direct mail. It is broad. So trying to help companies deliver a better experience to their end users, basically. And man, so much things are coming. Like it's running a business is never a dull moment. Sometimes some things, real cool things. So we had a client churn this week, but on the same end, we had 2 customers extending and increasing the workload that we have for them. So at the same time, it's going all over the place, but it's fun.
For everyone watching on YouTube, I'm gonna add a couple of pictures from the event in Valencia. I think that's gonna be fun to see. We have some really cool ones. So let's just put those on screen. Omar, would you like your presentation was honestly incredible. Is that exclusive for people at the event, or are we able to like gate that and send it to our listeners as well?
Yeah, we will be able to. Maybe we can do a short recording on it. I don't mind talking about it, or maybe have a live webinar where people can join in to have a better understanding. Hey, why this new positioning is important, what it can mean for you, and how to take a different approach on marketing, basically.
At the end of the day, it is about what's next in terms of email marketing services. So from a brand perspective, what should you expect from the service providers you work with, whether it's an agency or whatever? And then from the agency perspective is kind of what should you offer? Anyway, it was a great talk, and we can definitely see what we can do about that. But to go into our next section, let's talk about some Klaviyo updates. So we recently saw something really exciting coming from Klaviyo. Omar, do you want to give us a quick breakdown?
Basically the new inbox preview, or however, the tools we've been using so far have been like Litmus, email and asset, like tools that allow you to see how that email actually renders in real inboxes. Something that Klaviyo came out with. It's not enabled in all accounts yet, but we've been seeing it and some screenshots popping up back and forth on social media as well. I think this is a really cool thing. It allows brands to maybe at the same time be more efficient, especially agencies. No need to send to a different tool, log into the different tool, look at things, and then you're able to do that in one go, which I think will increase efficiency on one end, and on the other hand also cost.
100%. Tools like, while I do love them and I have been using them, Litmus and Email on Asset, and there's a few more out there, they tend to get quite expensive, especially for an agency when you manage multiple accounts. But what I'm going to say is I feel like more than ever we're accelerating towards a future where Klaviyo is consolidating more and more of these features that you often find in different third-party apps, and everything is going to happen within the same platform. And I am just so excited for it. I'm really excited for it. This is how I've envisioned it from day one. And, while some tools need some work, like the reviews platform, there's definitely all of these elements coming into one platform. You have WhatsApp coming soon, you have reviews, you have marketing analytics, you have the D2C CRM, which is a whole beast of its own. Now we're getting the inbox testing as well, the customer hub. They're doing more and more things on the deliverability analysis side, where again, you had to use all of these other different types of tools like Glock and whatnot to figure out stuff like that. And I'm super excited for it. So if you're not using Klaviyo, just, save yourself the trouble and do it right now. If you're using any other tools, like this podcast isn't called Klaviyo Geeks for nothing. And if you are using Klaviyo, just get excited.
Yeah, definitely. So I think on that end, we are using Litmus a lot. There are some other features that are not included in Klaviyo right now, like additional rich content that you can add to emails, like countdown timers, but also scratch off things. Like there are a lot of additional features that is not in Klaviyo, but if you're not using those, I think this preview just saves massive amount of time and also money.
Topic number 1, the state of list growth in 2025. How do brands grow their list in 2025 and beyond? First of all, I think it's important to talk about why brands should focus on growing their list, and why growing their list is so much more than just having one pop-up live on your site. I think, most brands that I audit nowadays, they literally have one simple pop-up that triggers on the homepage after maybe 5, 10, 15 seconds, depending on how afraid they are. It could be anywhere from 5 to 45 seconds. It's never really thought of in a strategic way. And to be honest, that's just not the way to grow your list. Like we've audited this brand a couple of weeks ago, and they were growing at such a slow rate because they literally just had one pop-up on the homepage. I think the main thing you have to think here is it's just a game of impressions. You have to do it while not being annoying, obviously, in terms of the pop-up strategy. I think number 1 here is you definitely want to have more than one pop-up live on your site, and you want to make sure that you drive as many impressions as possible, and then look at things as testing how you can get that pop-up to convert better. And another thing I think you'll love to talk about as well is just brands just never test anything. And I remember you telling me about this huge 7-8 figure brand that you're managing, and you guys are testing, what was it? Like you had like 10, 15 things testing at one time on their pop-ups. Why don't you give us a little more detail on how you
Before I dive in,
manage that?
I like to zoom. Before I zoom in, I like to zoom out.
Let's zoom out.
So why is this important to work on list growth? I think my view of this is, again, going back to frameworks. What are the levers that you can pull in? Klaviyo is more than email marketing nowadays, but what are the levers that you can pull in email marketing or whatever marketing that we're doing within CRM? I think it is on one end getting the most results from it. So let's use email as one channel right now. If you want to have impact with email, the main thing is how many people are you emailing, how many people are converting from that. If you want to increase the amount of output, you can either send more emails to the same people or make sure that you have more people in the list that you can email. So if you combine both, and I'm not talking about the quality of the list right now, but if you are basically increasing both, you probably will have more output. There will be a diminishing return at a certain point. If you're going to be emailing 5 times a day, people will unsubscribe. But top of funnel for email or for Klaviyo in this field will be getting people on the list. So that's why for me it's important. And the one thing that since at Polaris we combine conversion rate optimization as well and also do email marketing, Klaviyo automations and all the chance Klaviyo has, where we basically, I always like 2-3 years ago, I had this idea or not idea. Maybe a feeling like, okay, we're putting up more pop-ups on the site. This is annoying for customers. It's driving away customers. So I kind of like worked with the CRO team as well, with the Klaviyo team. Like, can we create a way to basically find out if that assumption is true? Because yeah, we don't want to drive away people or annoy people. I also know from psychology part of things, if people are interacting with something, subconsciously they're saying they're liking it, even though they're closing out pop-ups. There have been multiple tests done around that specific area as well. So combining those, we've basically like split up the traffic. The half of the people do get a pop-up when they're basically, if they're in the segment that should get a pop-up. If they're already on the list, we're not going to show it. But and then on the other hand, nobody gets a pop-up. And to basically see what are the differences there. And from that,
You had 2 different holdout tests. Basically,
yes,
one group never saw the pop-up. The other group, they saw the pop-ups.
Yeah.
Okay,
If
cool.
they would meet the conditions, like they were not on the list already.
Yeah.
And what we've seen there from the people that actually get a pop-up on the version A or B, we have seen 30%, 50%, sometimes double the conversion rate for that group. So there were almost no negative numbers on those areas. And we've kind of like ran this for multiple of our clients, which kind of like gave us a good indication that pop-ups actually help increase conversion rate. And of course, you're giving an incentive, so there's a reason why people are doing it. But on the flip side of it, we have some clients that actually have been able to. I need to see how we can, because the conversion rate increased, their ad spend actually allowed them to target much more customers because the acquisition cost basically halved. So
wow, that's impressive. Yeah. There you go. Work with Polaris Growth, my friends.
Well, it challenge your assumptions, test it out if you can. But we see that having pop-ups, working on list growth is an important topic or thing to do. And that's something for all our clients, we basically do that on a monthly basis. We continuously test out these pop-ups. Because if it's 5%, it's 6%, how do we get to 8% or to 10%? And don't stare yourself blind on the percentages. Also look at the absolutes, because you can increase the percentage just by only showing it to the highest engaged people, like waiting 2 minutes before showing a pop-up. It will increase the likelihood that people will actually.
Yeah, but the volume will drop.
The volume will drop. So also look at the absolutes. I would rather have a lower conversion rate on the sign up than and have a higher total value there on the absolutes. Anyway, we're diving away from the main topic, but yeah.
No, I think this covers pretty much the entire section 2 pretty well. That's the state of list growth in 2025. It's not just about capturing subscribers. It's a much bigger picture thing where, as Omar said, it can actually help you increase your conversion rates, convert more people. I think pop-ups and welcome flows, that is, they get a bad rep, mostly from the email industry, where people say, oh, well, a pop-up and a welcome flow is just stealing attribution from paid ads traffic. But again, is that really the case? No, challenge the assumption that that's true, because as Omar said, he tested it and it's not quite the storyline that we've been told.
Probably if you look at your customers, you will see a difference in lifetime value for those that are subscribed to your mailing list or that are in the CRM and those that are not. So if you have consent, I think it makes a difference there as well. So look at the numbers, see what's happening on your end, and then start moving there. For us, we know that list growth is part of the work that we're doing, making sure that we are increasing the database and making sure that we are able to basically connect with more people.
Exactly. Before you go into the next section, which is I know is going to be a favorite of yours, you kind of covered a little bit of that already. I also want to challenge another thing. You know, a lot of brands I know 100% they still use the standard framework of a welcome flow. You know, email number one, give them the discount. Email number two, a bit about our brand. Email number three, here's our bestsellers. Email number four, here's our team. I don't know. Email number five, last chance. Now, normally what I see is that all of these emails are being triggered 1 day delay. So you have a 5-day welcome flow, and then you trigger them one after the other with a 1 day delay. Now, here's why I want to challenge that. And this is, again, I think this should have been a great thing to cover in episode 3 with things that we, common beliefs that we don't believe it anymore. Most people in that join your list, whether they come in through the checkout or through a sign up form, they convert within the first 24 to 48 hours. Yes. Obviously, this depends on a brand by brand basis, like what the actual numbers are. But if you look at the cohort analysis, that tends to be the case. The rest of them tend to convert within the first 10 days, and the rest of them, which is quite a low percentage of them, first 30 days. Now, why would you have your welcome flow send an email a day for 5 days when you know that most people convert within the first 24 hours? Now, what we've been testing, and it's been working wonderfully, is just to increase the frequency of emails within the first 24 hours. And not just emails, any channel that you acquire from that customer. So email, SMS, if you have push notifications, WhatsApp, whatever, try and send more touch points. Because as Omar said, at the end of the day, it's about volume. And as I said in the beginning as well, it's about impressions. So the more touch points you have with that customer, the more you're likely to tap into that dopamine hit that they had from clicking on the ad in the first place and thinking they want to buy that product. So that's kind of what I want to challenge there a little bit. It's so much like essentially at the end of the day, it is about not wasting that ad spend and that traffic and getting that first purchase. Omar?
Yeah. And adding to that, it just shows if people are showing like they're signing up, it's a form of engagement. So the higher the engagement levels are, like continuously match that as well. If you see that they're active and doing things, then it's good to match that and be interactive with them. So I think it's a good call out. Test it out to see if it works for your brand. If you're sending out, sometimes I've seen like 48 hours, waiting 3 days, or maybe having a welcome flow that covers like a whole month with 5 or 6 emails. And I think, yeah, after a while, it's just probably is not engaging anymore. So good advice and good tips.
I think you can look at it from a layer standpoint as well, because people enter one thing and then they exit another. So like, you have a welcome flow, first 3 days, higher frequency. Then after they finish that, they can just enter your normal prospect segments where you can include them in regular campaigns and hope that they convert. So again, it's like you don't have to have a welcome flow that goes for 1 month because you're going to send campaigns to them anyway, hopefully. But you said, actually, before we get into that, I think we have, actually, this might be the section for it. You said you have an interesting flow that you've been testing, and this could be a good section for you to cover that.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
We have one flow that we actually started adding for some of our customers, which is called the failure to launch flow. And what it basically does is, if you look at the numbers, you see that most people that subscribe to the list, they convert within 0 to 14 days. That's like the majority converts in the same day, like buys from you at the same day within 24 hours. And then it gradually, or it's kind of like a steep drop, and then you will have some people that will still buy. What we've been testing basically is sending out a survey to those people that actually subscribed but didn't buy. Because if you're subscribing, you're actually taking a manual actions, filling in information, signing up to a newsletter. This is not something that you're doing just because you don't have anything to do with your day. So for us, it's basically creating a feedback loop to start getting information of why people are actually not buying. At the same time, we do offer sometimes an incentive for some clients, sometimes we don't. But these feedback loops actually allow you to see if there are any friction elements on your website, friction elements in your messaging, maybe in the product, things are not clear. Because if you sign up, for me, it's a form of engagement, it's a form of you wanting to take action, but you never followed up onto that. And we're basically using this right now to be a bit, have a feedback loop to get more information in, but on the other hand, maybe also find a way to see if we are able to get them back into that journey again. So it's still early days. For some clients, we're seeing already some first reactions, and people are actually engaging with these forms. But it allows you to get smarter with the things that you're doing at the same time.
I love that. Interesting. How frictionless is that experience? Is that a survey that they complete on a page on the site, or is that in
We're,
email?
we're using Typeform right now. So basically sending
Typeform.
people
Okay.
to Typeform, and then if they filled it in, depending on the client, some give an incentive. They get an incentive, which
Which allows you to then
is
kind of,
might be a bit higher than the like original one, but it allows you to then get them back as well. So
yeah.
there are two
I'll-
reasons for it, but for me, the zero party data, the information that people are sharing with us, are the most important ones that will allow us to improve things as well on the website or other places in that journey.
Would it be worth noting here, or would you say that's a case where it's best to implement such a flow for brands that have a certain amount of traffic, so you can actually get some
It's yeah, I wouldn't start off with this. This is like
yeah.
once the basic automations are in place, then like these kind of like steps become more important. Like if you have a basic set of automations that are running, and maybe it's something to cover in a future episode, we need to keep a note of this. Like what are the automations you need to have?
How did
At
we
a
not
certain,
cover that? How
I
did we not
know
have an episode about
we'll
that?
write it down. But then it starts for me like having the basics first and then going deeper and understanding the customers better. We're making some changes to that methodology, but this is the current approach. That once the basics is in place, then we have time to actually start going deeper and adding like these feedback loops that allow us to be smarter.
Love it. Awesome. All right, cool. So that leads us quite nicely into the next
Yeah.
topic. You've covered on this a little bit already, so let me know if you have any other deeper insights you can share here. But obviously, the main misconception is that a pop up is just a tactic of acquiring new email subscribers. But what is the conversion rate impact? Obviously, someone who runs a CRO agency, what's the conversion rate impact long term of acquiring more people on your email list and having, these sort of more advanced pop-up strategies in place for your brand?
Like I said, and I think we kind of like covered it in the previous section already. But we've seen, like I said, it varies a little bit on mobile versus desktop. For desktop, we see a higher conversion rate going up. For mobile, it was a bit lower. It was like 26% for one specific client. The other one was 40 something percent. But it averaged out around 30% increase of conversion rate. So I think it is impacting the acquisition channels in a positive way because it just lowers your acquisition costs, which allows you to go further with your same budgets, basically.
Right. Any specific metrics that brands should track when it comes to list growth? Like, for example, a couple of ones that come to mind is, a lot of people just focus on the sign up rate. But are you guys tracking sign up to order conversion rate, like subscription to, I think it's called, it has many different names. Do you know what I mean, right? Like
Yeah, basically how many people sign up to the list or sign up through a pop-ups or whatever, and how many of
yeah,
those actually also convert.
actually
Which
convert, yeah.
what I've learned, and this is like 4 years ago, working with one brand, we exponentially grew total revenue because we improved the conversion rate of a pop-up fivefold. So we basically went from 300 signups a month to 1,500 signups a month. I say that like 1,200, so 1,500 it was. And what happened as an effect of that is like the welcome flow went from 10K a month to around 46,000 euros a month, which was my first indication of wait, actually trying to optimize the welcome flow is suboptimal. Trying to optimize the pop-up has bigger effect on the results than actually optimize the welcome flow. I think I would like if we talk about prioritizing again, then I would definitely start focusing on the pop-ups, and that's why we are doing that on a month-to-month basis, running new tests, coming up with new hypotheses on things we want to test to see if we can get it higher. Is it the incentive? If it's the timing? Like there are so many variables that you can check and test there. Amount of pop-ups, and then once that's going well, I would then also focus on like the tactics that you just basically said, like having a welcome flow that triggers not every other day or every day, but maybe having it like fast tracking that process as well. And just see what happens with the numbers.
100%. The other thing I want to add here in terms of conversion rate impact, one thing that we tested on a much more surface level without getting too deep into conversion metrics. But try and every time you run a sale on your site, oftentimes what I see is brands just have their normal, like you have a sale on the site, takes over the site completely, Father's Day sale up to 50% off, yet the pop-up that you still have live on the site, it says get 10% off your next order. And it doesn't quite align, it doesn't quite sync. So what we've been doing with some clients is when we have an entire website takeover for a sale and we know it's going to run for 7-10 days, we switch the pop-ups as well, and we switch the welcome flows as well. And the impact on not only sign up rate, but sign up to conversion rate as well. Obviously, the conversion rate of the site overall increases because of the site takeover and the sale. It's just phenomenal. Like we're seeing, and I know, again, looking at things without context, people can say it's vanity metrics, but we're seeing a normal pop-up which just says as optimized as it can be when there's no sale, maybe 6-7 sign up rate, sign up to conversion rate, around the same thing. And then when you look at the welcome flow, you get like, I don't know, maybe 10% click rates. When you switch that and you have a sale pop-up which says up to 50% off, get access now. A lot of people might say, yeah, but the sale is already live on the site. You're making too many assumptions that the customer cares. Customer is going to see the pop-ups, going to see up to 50% off, they're going to subscribe, right? Your goal isn't to be mindful of them. Your goal is to capture that email address in case they bounce without making a purchase. That's the whole point of having a pop-up in the first place. Sign-up rate increases, sometimes double. And welcome flow click rate increases also like 3-4 times. Like we get for this brand, we're running now Father's Day sale. Their click rate on the welcome flow went from 10% to 43%. I'm not even joking. And yeah, I would definitely encourage brands to try it out and see what the impact is.
So actually, we already started with this new section, which basically list growth, like smart list growth strategies that you can actually use to convert. This is one of them. Actually, we had one on the list, which is basically having some sort of a early access or specific. So the way I see this, if you're giving away something, it might be a sale, it might be a discount, it might be some incentive. At least try to ask something in return, which is their consent that you're allowed to email them. It's an exchange, which basically allows you to target them in the future as well. I know that in the US, the rules, regulations are a bit different than from Europe, but especially for European brands, I think this is like a really good way, like, hey, there's a sale going on. Make sure that you are in the know, that you are not missing anything, and sign up now. So if you are being more relevant towards those things, I think that there's massive opportunity to, like what you're saying, grow your list. But what other strategies can we cover, Bogdan? I think we have a couple of them on the list. Anyone you want to pick up?
Okay. Yeah, I think I want to talk about, let's cover the baseline first. Let's just talk about some of our main recommendations on pop-ups without getting too much into like crazy strategies. Do you want to start? How do you establish for brands that you manage, how many pop-ups do you create? What are those type of pop-ups? Where do you trigger them? How fast do you trigger them? And how, where do you offer the incentive? How do they link back into Klaviyo? Just, give us a quick rundown of that if I'm not putting you too much on the spot here.
Don't worry. I think we have enough experience to talk from experience without preparing things. But
imagine Omar being like, I have no idea.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be saying that really. No, I think I would actually. But anyway, so for me, at least one pop-up is like having something that's there, like basics, is one that for sure it needs to be there. So if they don't have anything, make sure that there is a basic pop-up running. You can choose to have a site-wide. You can choose to have it only in the homepage. It depends a little bit on where you're driving the most traffic from. And I think it was actually one of the conversation we had in the last couple of years that you said, oh no, we've been doing like a second pop-up or third pop-up around the maybe best-selling products as well, where you basically switch the questioning. Instead of saying, hey, do you want to buy something or do you want to have an incentive? You're actually asking different questions like, hey,
you want to save on this product?
For example, what's the main reason you want to buy this product? For example, then you're changing the
Exactly.
complete conversation already.
You don't remember this, but when I used to work at Polaris, I'm not saying we coined this idea. I'm sure a lot of people have done it, but we were in a Zoom call and we were thinking about this, and you came to me with this idea of a window shopper flow. Do you remember that? And
Yeah.
then you said, what if this was back in 2020 during the pandemic? And you said, what if instead of just the homepage pop-up, we create a pop-up that targets just our best-selling products, and it triggers only on those product pages. You can even have different ones for specific product pages. You can make it extremely tailored to that product. You change the messaging, and the reasoning behind it is like, hey, why do you want to buy this product, or do you want to save on this product? And then instead of sending them to the welcome flow, you send them to something called a window shopper flow, where
Yeah.
essentially the welcome messaging is tailored to that product. And that stuck to me, man. And since then, we've been doing exactly that with all the brands that we're working on. And then what I'm seeing is
Interesting.
Windows Shopper Flow gets a much higher revenue per recipient, much higher than the welcome flow. Now, the reason for that being is obviously welcome flow targets a lot more people. The impression count is a lot higher, which means the intent is a lot lower for those people. Now, when someone is on the product page, they're much further down the funnel. The interest is a lot higher, so the likelihood of them converting is a lot higher as well. And that's a strategy that stuck to me, and it's all because of you, my friend.
Interesting. Uh, the funny thing for all the listeners here, I think a couple of you, I forgot about this, to be honest. So I actually have been using that as well. But I remember the same thing, you talking to me about it a couple of years later. And then we re-implementing it again because I completely forgot about that. So good to know that's where it originated.
Yep.
I thought you came up with it.
No, no,
You
no,
wouldn't
no.
have said that. I would have fully thought you were the one that came up with it. But anyway,
No, that was your idea. You even came up with the name Window Shopper, which
all
was
right,
basically the
cool.
sort of idea that when you're window shopping on a high street, but you're just looking, but you're not actually taking.
Yeah.
And imagine when you're on Oxford Street, and then someone comes to you as you're window shopping. Hey, do you want to buy this product? That's the equivalent of the pop up on the site.
The funny thing, I mean, it's basically relevancy, right? So you're being really specific, really relevant. And of course, you cannot do this at this point at scale because you have to create a lot of things. So maybe creating categories where you're having these things on. If you have a couple of like categories on your site, that's something that you can really go into depth and create specific flows for. But if you do this for all your products separately, it will take a massive amount of time. And you always want to balance time, effort, and impact, and
Yeah.
see if it's worth doing or not.
I mean, 100%, you want to use the product to actually get enough traffic to make it worthwhile. All right, just conscious of time here. So other strategies, one that I see that's not being used enough, and there is actually a section in Klaviyo dashboard called growth strategies, where you're able to do a bunch of things that Klaviyo recommends. One of them is to create a keyword that customers can text a number if you have a two-way messaging system where they can subscribe. Now, I think you can use this in a lot of your social strategies. If you have a huge social following, you can send stories. You can post stories to your audience saying, hey, text treat to get a free gift with your order. They text your number, or they maybe go to the link in bio where they're able to text the keyword. They get an automated message back, and you send them back to the site. That's a great way to grow your SMS list. I think, Omar, you were mentioning something about, what was it? We have here in-store QR, loyalty requirements. Do you want to cover a little bit on that?
Yeah. So on one hand, yes, you have the on-site things. So it's basically pop-up showing on different places. Klaviyo has the ability, if you're using Shopify, to also tailor the pop-ups based on cart contents as well. So if you want to have a specific upsell, have somebody unlock that with a specific pop-up, you can actually do that. Like, hey, you have this product, buy this product and get whatever. So there are options to do that. There are multiple ways that you can actually grow your list. Maybe having static blocks in different steps on parts of your page. Like if you have a blog that is getting read a lot, make sure that you allow people to sign up from there. Like having multiple basically having and spreading the chances of people encountering a place where it's of value to them and having them subscribe to your list. Either email, either SMS. WhatsApp is coming. WhatsApp is another one. And yeah, maybe if you also already have those channels already covered. Another one is, of course, in-app. So if you have
Yep.
apps as well, that's another place. If you have those covered, maybe direct mail might be another one. Like you have Postpilot, you have some other options. Also in the Netherlands, there are some options to send direct mail nowadays. So those are all options that you can use. But other places that you can think of, which are a bit out of the ordinary, like if you have a back in stock functionality, if you're using the Klaviyo functionality, you're able to add a small rule in there that allows them to also subscribe to the list. If they're already taking the effort to subscribe to get back in stock, you can have that check mark like, hey, also
I love
subscribe to the
that.
list.
I never thought of that.
It's a simple feature. If you go to the Klaviyo documentation, it's just a line of code that you need to add, and it will allow you to put that checkbox in there. If people are creating accounts on your site, and I think account creation will be an important thing moving forward, but there, like, have them subscribe to your list immediately as well. Or even in the emails going out, like see if there's something you can put in, hey, subscribe to our list or whatever. That it's basically having multiple touch points where people can interact with. Another one, if you have a loyalty program, definitely, I think loyalty is something we will still be covering because I have a strong take on that area, and I think people have me asking for us to cover it, so we need to see when we're going to be covering it in the next episodes. But also
I think that's the last episode of the season, if I'm not
Cool.
mistaken. That's what we mapped out. So
Man. And
be looked up at.
make sure that people also have an option to subscribe to your mailing list or to SMS. Maybe give them additional things for that, perks for doing that, but or maybe making it a requirement. If you want to be on the loyalty, you need to be subscribed to the list. If you have physical stores, I mean, there are so many things you can do with that. Especially also if you have loyalty, combining loyalty, maybe a QR code that people can subscribe to the list, maybe a welcome offer that they can subscribe with their phone while they're shopping in store and subscribe to the list, and something that they can use in store as well. Like have a specific welcome flow for in-store customers only.
It's brilliant.
It's easy to do. I mean, these are things that we can have a form that's only available for them to go on to. Early access, we already covered that. That's another big area that you can start getting people not only on your website, but if you're thinking about, you have your social media channels. There are tools that like Gatsby is one of them, allow them to actually sign up from your social media channels directly to your email list. That's like, there's just, make sure that you have it in your bio or whatever, that people can subscribe to the list. And when you're having campaigns, like doubling down on getting them to also subscribe to your list, because those social channels, normally you would have to pay for those people to get them on your, like, if you're doing ads, it costs you money. But if you're doing it with a campaign or something, that's like the organic reach, of course, is going to be less, but having them go from that list that are owned by somebody else onto your own list is just really valuable for you as a business. And maybe email signatures, something in your support desk, if they're like having a block on a signature that people can actually interact with and subscribe to your list. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are more things that you can do, but
no, I mean, man, Jesus, that was a lot of them. Like, wow, that's great. Like the signature one, like I was looking at it here on our notes. That's brilliant. You know, like if you do have a high number of, like if you're a larger store and you get a lot of support tickets, like just having a little thing to subscribe to our SMS. You know, imagine over a 12-month period, how many more people would you get on your SMS list just by adding that touch point in there?
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Awesome. All right. Cool. All right. So let's move to the last two sections. So touched a little bit on the welcome flow. It's definitely not optional. I think that's the main thing we want to say here. As I said earlier, a lot of people think the welcome flow is just attribution shifting. Obviously, it's not just attribution shifting. Now, what I want to say here, I don't know if you'll agree or not, but lately I've been thinking about the welcome flow so much less as an acquisition flow and so much more as a retargeting flow. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, the whole purpose of someone subscribing to your pop-up is for them to get an incentive. And one of the main things we've tested, and this has been tested by many agencies, that you don't want to interrupt that journey by sending them to the welcome flow to get their code or whatever incentive. You want to give that on the same session, pop-up, window 1, window 2, window 3, thank you page, give them the discount, press on the button to apply it, done. Now, the welcome flow now is not really an acquisition flow because there's no reason for them to go and open the first email in the welcome flow as much as it's a retargeting tool to make sure you bring these people back to the site if they haven't actually converted on the first session. And that's how we've been looking at it for the last few months. And it's been working really well where we layered it up with you have the first 3 days, which is the welcome flow. You have the next 3 to 10 days, which is something that we call a subscribed no order flow. And then maybe you add the failure to launch flow afterwards, which is what Omar suggested, where you essentially try and capitalize on feedback from these much more churned new subscribers 10 plus days after they subscribe. So it's really, I don't know, what's your take on that, Omar? Just while we talk about the welcome flow. Anything to add here?
No, I think I'm looking at the time. Just I think
You're getting stressed about the time.
Yeah. We always keep going overtime. I think it's a good take, man. Yeah.
All right. Last thing we want to talk about, how to track your list growth. I think very, very simple here. You definitely want to track your sign up rate. You want to keep testing to make sure you show more impressions, you get that as high as possible. I think as Omar said, oftentimes it can be so much less about the rate as much as it is about the volume of list growth. So make sure you're constantly acquiring more and more new email subscribers. Definitely want to track sign up to order conversion rate. There's so much more you can look into the pop-up dashboard in Klaviyo as well to see what your AOV is, depending on what the offer you advertise on the pop-up. There's a lot of cool things you can test there. What I would say, one of the biggest ones I've been talking about last few months is the net new subscriber growth. So what I see oftentimes is that a lot of brands and agencies, they look at just their list growth, but they don't take into account the unsubscribes from a particular month, right? So if you acquire 5,000 people in June, a lot of people don't. You'd be surprised. Right. They look, it's like, oh, we acquired like 5,000 people in June. And I'm like, yeah, but we also lost 5,500. So our list actually is on a net minus.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, no one knows what they're doing. This is my main motto of my
I think for me that like if your list in total growing in a positive rate, I think that's the most important thing to, but I'm not sure if it's related to, I think that's more related to, how you're dealing with your campaigns and your sending strategies, as opposed to what it is on the list growth side of things. I think those are two different things, but it's definitely one of the most important things to keep track on, because if you like extend the line, if it's negative, you're gonna end up with no people on the list. So that's something you don't want. You will have a natural amount of churn anyway, but in the end, you want to increase things. And I think what we actually set out in the beginning as one of our goals, like if your list is now 50,000, how do we get to 60,000? If it's 60,000, how do we get to 100,000? Like, what are the strategies that we need to put into place to get towards that? It might be improving the pop-up. It might be like trying new additional channels and stuff like that. But the net rate is really important to look at, definitely. And it allows you to create strategies around as well.
100%. All right. So just to kind of wrap up a little bit, we talked about the state of list growth. We talked about conversion rate impact. We talked about list growth strategies. Omar gave a lot of tips there. So make sure you go back and listen to that section. You forgot one thing. Do you want to add that in there now?
Yeah. So basically, one thing we did not cover is what are you offering? So what is the incentive? What is the thing that you're exchanging the email address for, or the number, or whatever list growth thing you're doing? And the one thing that we've found, because it varies a lot from customer to customer, some customers don't want to give any discounts or mention even discounts. Like we have these customers that are selling really expensive products, $1,000+ and their audience, I mean, discounts is not their audience. If they are able to buy these things that they're selling, basically a discount, it's not going to be something. They're more into luxury. They want to see that. So what we've been trying to do there is reframe and rephrase what the incentive is. But you always want to exchange. You want to give something to get something. And if you're in a position that you're not able to do a discount, you can do free shipping. You can do, if that's still a thing, but you can like have a specific incentive and frame it maybe as a gift other than it being a discount. It's still the same thing. One thing we've done with one of our brands that we work with, that we've been working with for a long time, is basically giving them free product, which If you look at the cost of goods, it is a couple of dollars, but they're selling it for like $20. So for them, it costs nothing. And then if you look at what a normal discount would be, like 10%, and then look at the average order value, it's actually more efficient for them to sell that or give that specific product for free. It's less expensive than giving a 10% discount. And then you can also match that with from this amount of like money. I'm kind of like rambling on a little bit. I need to rephrase this. But basically what you're able to do is give a free product once they buy an order starting at like $50 or $100. And that way you're actually maybe saving the brand money while at the same time giving a customer a gift, which for them feels like, hey, I got something extra and not so much a discount. That kind of like, sometimes people find that it kind of hurts the brand if they're trying to be an exclusive or more not the cheapest brand or something like that. So I'm not sure. I hope it's clear, but I think the thing that around what you're giving is also important. It's like having the pop-up is good, but also understanding like what are the incentives that we're giving. It may be gated content. It may be a lookbook. It might be something different that you're exchanging for them to sign up to the list. As long as it's valuable to your end customers, then it's worthwhile doing. And that's something you can test around a lot.
That's awesome. All right. I think we're at the end of the episode. This is packed with lots of knowledge. Key takeaways. So I think for me, the best brands definitely don't run just one pop-up. They run multiple. The best brands don't have just one list growth strategy. They have multiple. I think the proof is in the pudding of how many strategies Omar listed earlier that you can implement right now. And we track more than just sign up rate. We look at many things. We keep testing to see what works and what doesn't. And as Omar just shared right now, you don't always have to give a discount. You don't always have to give a percentage off or a dollar amount. There's always so many things you can give in return, but you definitely have to give something to get the customer's consent. Omar, any last words? Any last words? No last.
No more last words. I think you basically summarized this really, really well. I think there are a lot of things that you can do here. And in the end, it's also about testing. So I think the best brands, the things that you've mentioned, actually the best brands see this as a strategy to increase things. So don't just put a pop-up and say, okay, check, I've done it. But always look back and how do we improve this? How do we get more people to sign up? How do we improve the quality of the people that are signing up? Like these things allow you to keep moving forward and keep giving momentum to the list growth strategies. Especially, I mean, there are so many things coming up. Like we have WhatsApp coming out there, more channels coming into Klaviyo, which makes it even more important to see, okay, how do we get more people into our list that we can actually communicate with?
My name is Bogdan from Email Kong.
I'm Omar from Polaris.
We are always so happy to do this, and we hope to keep doing it for as long as we can. And that's it. See you on the next episode.
All right. See you guys. Bye.